What's going on? What's going on, film fam? Welcome to another episode of Let the Film Speak. I am one of your hosts, Chop. I'm actually in the same under the same roof as my dog Willie Jack today, man.
Come on, man.
We in the same building today, man. Willie Jack, how you living, dog?
Man, I'm feeling good, feeling great, man. You know what I'm saying? Here, had to pop in on my dog, man. He been talking a little reckless on the show here lately, man. I had to pop up on him, get his head together, man. But yeah, hey, so happy to be here, man. Kicking with my dog in person.
Hey, absolutely, Willie Jack. I'm happy to have you here, dog. Under the roof of my home, man. You know, my home is your home. Mi casa, su casa. You know what I mean?
Stop through the chop shop, see what's good one time.
Absolutely, I see it. We in the chop shop. Y'all know how this go, man. But yeah, man. Today's episode, we got a special one for y'all. As always, we're gonna talk about the top edge defenders. A lot of y'all don't know, man. That's Willie's territory right there, man. That's where he was born and raised, man. In them trenches, you know, coming from the defensive end spot. He knows a little bit about, you know, edge rush, and I give him that, man. He might not know that as much about NFL or football, you know, but I give him the edge defender talk, you know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, that's what we're gonna jump in today. We're gonna jump into a little bit of that. Of course, you know, this is a very important position when you're talking about, you know, guys that get after the quarterback, guys that have a huge impact when it comes to stopping the opposing, you know, team's offense. So we definitely gonna jump into those, let you know who we think are the top guys going into the 2023 season. But before we do that, we got to go through the house rules, man. As always, as first and foremost, it's like, share, and subscribe, man. Tap in with your boys. You know, become the newest member of the Film Fam. We really appreciate each and every one of y'all for tuning in with us. You know, tap in, you know, talk to us. We talk back. If you're in here right now, check in with us, man. State your name. Let us know who in the building. That way we can shout you out, man, and tap in with you as well. Also, don't forget to hit that notification bell. How else are you going to know when me and my dog Willie Jack got something coming up? You know, when we cooking in the kitchen, when we got the next barbecue going in the backyard for everybody to come through and get a couple of drinks, get some food, make a couple plates, maybe even take some home. Sometimes we'll be having leftovers. So, man, like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I guarantee you we will not let you down. Willie Jack,
let's go.
We got a little bit of news today. We're not necessarily news, but, you know, some things that we want to address before we jump into the actual show. First and foremost, man, y'all know February the 17th. I mean, not February. Why I'm talking about February? I'm thinking about I'm that boy tripping out here. But July the 17th, man, that is the deadline for these running backs, man, the Josh Jacobs and the Saquon Barkley, to get their deals done. You know what I mean? And sign those franchise tenders, man. So, Willie Jack, I'm going to ask you first off the rip. Do you think this deal is going to get done with Saquon, man?
Man, I'm not sure, man. I think eventually it will get done. But at this point, it looks like from what we was talking about, man, we just seen they $3 million apart. I think it said Saquon's looking for something in the neighborhood of $16 million. Right now, the Giants are at 13, and there's talks that he may even go into may even consider sitting out week one. And honestly, man, kind of like we kind of touched on it a little bit last week, we started the running backs. I think that Saquon definitely has a point to prove. He's dealt with all the injuries. He came back. He was healthy. He was impactful last year. He just watched his backfield buddy, Daniel Jones, cash a $40 million bag. And so, and now it's his turn. And if he's being honest with himself, he probably feels like he had more to do with Daniel Jones getting that 40 than the other way around. And so, they didn't cut any corners or short any type of bag for Daniel Jones. And so if I'm Saquon Barkley, I'm saying, well, hey, don't cut no corners over here as well. And so if I'm Saquon, man, I think stick to your guns and see it through. And I think they will. Like I said, this is an offense completely desperate for talent. You've got Daniel Jones throwing to Tom, Dick, and Harry, and then you've got Saquon Barkley, who you hope can do a little bit of everything. You know what I'm saying? Like there's not a D-Hop on the outside. There's not a Jerry Jeudy on the outside. There's nobody else over there on that offense. You bring in Darren Waller, see what he'll do 2 years off of injury now. But like I said, where's the rest of that money going, Chop?
Absolutely.
So take care of your guys, man. You draft them top 5. When you draft a running back that high, you've got to plan on him being the guy in that building for a decade. So go ahead, man, break bread and get it done.
Absolutely. And I'm with you on that, Willie Jack. I definitely think he needs to stick to his guns. I mean, and you made a very, very good point. You're gonna pay Daniel Jones $40 million. I know y'all got 16 for me. If all I'm asking is 16, not even half of what Daniel Jones is making each and every year. And again, I make this point to everybody who has not proven anything, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Hey, come on, man, y'all gotta hook me up. You know, y'all gotta give me some money. I've shown y'all that I could be a top caliber back in this league, man. For if as long as I stay on the field. Now, of course, that was a big if going into this season, but you know, now he got 3 under his belt. He got 3 seasons. He can show you of those first 5 is where you know he's put up some pretty good number or top towards the top of the league, you know, type number. So 16 million, man. Hey, go ahead and pay that man. Go ahead and pay him.
Break bread, New York. Stop playing now.
Stop playing with him. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and ask you since we're on the subject.
Let's do it.
What you think about Josh Jacobs? Do you think he gets his contract? What do you think his situation is similar to Saquon's? Like, what's your opinion on his one? On his situation?
Josh Jacobs' situation, I think, is a little different. And so I just don't know if the Raiders are gonna. I think they're gonna draw a harder line in the sand than the Giants can even afford to do with Saquon. Because for one thing, Josh Jacobs his name just doesn't carry the same cachet that Saquon does. So Saquon coming into this league, like I say, he was drafted top 5 as a running back. So he came in as a budding star. He was this generation's Bo Jackson. You know what I mean? Like when he was coming into the league for his size and speed profile and as explosive as he was. Josh Jacobs was a guy, he was a running back by committee in Alabama. He gets drafted kind of toward the back end of the first round. And then I think he probably overachieved to an extent. I don't know if they thought he'd be this good. So I think it's just his circumstances is just a little different. And then also he's not in a major market team like New York, where Saquon's a star in that city and one of the biggest media outlets in the country. Well, the Raiders, they're a middling to bottom. They're closer to a middling or bottom tier team than they are, like I said, a top tier or what am I trying to say?
I get what you're saying.
Yeah, like that team in that circumstance is a little different. And honestly, I don't know how the money looks like for them. I know they overpaid to get Jimmy G in there, Jimmy Garoppolo. They've got money tied up there. They also paying Devontae Adams $30 million on the outside. And so that's one of the things that the Raiders have going on that the Giants don't. So they've got 2 very high ticket guys in that offense as well already. And I think their left tackle, Colton Miller, who's quietly probably a top 10 guy at the position, he's getting paid as well. So I don't know if they necessarily have the money to go around. Max Crosby's getting paid on the other side of the ball as well. Yeah. And so on that one, man, I'm not sure if he gets his deal done there. But also, I don't know necessarily if he'll want to sit out, or if maybe he plays this 1 year and then forces their hand next year and goes ahead and gets a little bag. But I'm for these guys doing whatever it takes to get the biggest bag possible. So man, if he comes to the decision, then man, I September 8th, I'll be at the living room watching, man, and cheer y'all boys on. If that's the decision he comes to, and I'm all for it. Do whatever you got to do, man, to secure your future for your family. So I'm gonna cheer for him either way it goes.
Gotcha. And I feel you on that, Willie Jake, too. If there's one thing that I think he does have, one thing he has to hold on to in terms of wanting to get his money or wanting to, strike a deal, is the fact that first off, he doesn't bring any baggage. He doesn't have a huge injury history. You know what I'm saying? He's usually healthy when it comes to his season by season basis. Like, he's going to be there. He's going to be a team guy. Like I said last week, he's one of those type of guys. If you go ask him to play some special teams, I have no doubt in my mind that Josh Jacobs will say, all right, where you want me at? You want me at the 1, the 2, the 3? You know what I'm saying? You want me to hold the ball? But you want me to say I can do whatever it is or whatever it takes for my team to win the game. That's the type of guy that you're dealing with. And, he's dealing with, like you said, Willie Jack, a team that's not necessarily bottom of the league, but maybe in between bottom of the league and the middle team, the middle of the pack, when it comes to franchises and their success right now. So, hey, man, we'll see how that deal plays out. I don't know how much leverage he will actually have, but if there's one thing that I think he has to hold on to, I think it will be that. So we'll see how that plays out.
Oh, another thing as well we didn't mention, this is also the guy who led the league in rushing last year as well.
Absolutely.
And so he's also got a very I guarantee that's something that he's burning in their brain as well. Is like, hey man, don't lowball me. I'm the top guy in the league this year. Yeah. Or I was the top guy at the position this year. Absolutely. In a league that has Nick Chubb, it has Derrick Henry, has Saquon Barkley. I was the guy at the top of that litter, and so he wants to be paid accordingly. So I hope it works out for him, man. If not in Las Vegas, man, then somewhere else. But yeah, I'd love to see those.
Hey, I just happen to notice, man. You just named some top backs, man. You failed to mention Christian McCaffrey. Maybe you.
Because he ain't got them problems. You know what I'm saying? Best in business guy. He been cashing them checks. Them checks in the bank. You know what I'm saying? Saquon chasing C-Mac money right now. You did.
Okay. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
Well, I digress then. I digress, man. But yeah, man, that's a little bit of the discussion we're going to have today, man. I know we got a couple people that already tapped in. Willie Jack, who we got in the building so far, man?
Yeah, man, the fam film in this thing, man. You know what I'm saying? Mama in the building, what's going on with you, man? And then sis came through to holler at us, man. Yeah, she said we side to side in this thing, man. You know what's going on, so appreciate y'all.
Yeah, appreciate y'all for tapping in. Y'all know what it is, man. Like, share, subscribe, notification. You know, same thing we say all the time.
Yeah.
But now, I think it's about that time, Willie Jack.
Ain't no time like the present, big dog.
Hey, I think it's about that time. We go ahead and jump into our list, man. We got the top 10 edge defenders going into the 2023 season. And as I say before we start these lists each and every time, this is partially about, okay, a little bit of the past, but this is more so projection. You know, what do we feel like this is going to look like going into the 2023 season? So let's go ahead and jump into it, Willie Jack. I'm gonna let you pop it off, man. You a guest in my home. Guests go first in my crib. You know, so I need you to start it off with your number 10 guy, man. Who you got? And I'm gonna come back with 10-9.
Yeah, man. And so I'm gonna go ahead and get the party started. You know what I'm saying? Like my dog said, man, we talk. This position a little close to my heart. You know what I'm saying? It's where Fat Me get real greasy down in there. Y'all might not know about that. You know what I'm saying? Me, but yeah, man, it get real down there in them trenches, man. I'm gonna get my party started with. And you know what, man? What I'm gonna do? I'm gonna get my party started with Hassan Reddick. And so I'm gonna put him at number 10. And the reason I've got him so low, even though he was the guy, I think he finished second in the league in sacks this year behind Baby Bosa, but I do feel like he is more of a specialist. And so he's almost a luxury rusher on that team and on that defense. And so we already know that Eagles defensive line, they about 7 deep. They bring in two more studs to that defense in the draft and in the offseason as well. And so I think he's afforded I think his situation affords him the opportunity for more production because it's his situation is set up so that he can really get out there and really just pin his ears back and really just take off and hunt quarterbacks all day long. And so now I think down for down, play for play, I don't think he's a stout at all. And I don't think anybody's confusing him for this as well, but he's not necessarily stout in the run game or a stout run defender. But if it's third and seven plus, and it's time to just put them ears back and let those dogs loose, he can get after the quarterback with the best of them. And so taking that into account, his production says he should probably be a little higher, but I'm thinking with all that talent around him, man, and in the situations he gets put into, you know, I'm curious to see what a guy like Max Crosby does in that same opportunity. You know what I mean? Or some of these other guys that are probably going to pop on this list. And so not to take away his credit, because you still got to get there. You got to make the plays that's in front of you. Absolutely. And he definitely does that. And shout out and kudos to you. But like I said, I think that's the reason why he's probably a little lower on my list than he's going to be on a lot of lists. But Hassan Reddick coming in at number 10 for sure. Pass rush, edge specialist. You know what I mean? Pass rush specialist for sure. He's out there getting buckets.
I got you, Willie Jack. And I'm with you on that one, man. I agree with you in terms of, you know, your analysis of his game and where he stands and so on and so forth. So, and he's also on my list too, so I'm definitely going to jump into him. But I'm going to go into my number 10, man. And my number 10, I don't know if you got this guy on your list. You know what I'm saying? And by the way, just because we next to each other don't mean me sharing nothing. I don't know what his list is. He don't know what my list is. You know, that's just how we rock. You know what I'm saying? That way we keep it organic and keep it pushing. But I'm going to start this list off with a second-year guy, man, over there in Detroit, man. I'm going to go with Aiden Hutchinson, okay? Now, a lot of this has to do with, well, I wouldn't say a lot because he had some pretty good production last year in terms of it being just his rookie year. Finished his first year with 9.5 sacks, man. I think he had about I think he had double-digit tackles for loss. You know what I'm saying? And he definitely had an impact over in that on the Detroit's defense. Now, they did a lot more than him over there in Detroit on that defensive end. You know what I mean? And they did a solid job of adding a few different pieces over to that Detroit defense going into the 2023 season. So I feel like him having a little bit of help, and then also him going into his second year of the season, he's fully confident now. He understands that, hey, I understand what my role will be. I understand what I'm fully capable of. You know, in terms of playing in the NFL. I'm okay with the speed of the game. I can be successful at this level, you know. And this was also a guy too. Me and Willie Jack, I believe both of us had him as our number one defensive end going into that 2022 draft. And there was with Trayvon Walker was the other guy that ended up actually being the first defensive end going off the board. And Willie Jack first, both of us said, okay, we know Trayvon Walker is the athletic guy. We know he's the big, fast guy, but he was a straight line guy. You know, he didn't have much bend. He didn't have much wiggle. You know, he didn't have a lot of the things that you would look for in your in a star defensive end. You know, maybe he is a project guy, or he looked like a project guy. So maybe he continues to improve, or maybe he gets better as the time goes on, in which Jacksonville needs him to do that this upcoming year for sure.
Oh, yeah.
But as of right now, we just didn't see it. We didn't see this first year. Whereas Aiden Hutchinson, which this is what we thought anyway, his game translated a little bit better to the NFL when he first got in. So that's part of the reason why I got Aiden Hutchinson here. I think he's going to continue to improve. He already showed he's pretty solid, you know, going into his first year. So I think he's going to continue to improve, and that's why I got him my number 10 spot, man.
You know, and I like that pick, man. I'm glad you got a young guy on the list. Aiden Hutchinson, he was in consideration. He didn't make my list, but the reason is I like everything you said about him for sure. Definitely came in. He was ready-made out the box. He had great hand usage. He had great motor, and those things translated well. And now here's another thing as well, bro.
Okay.
9.5 sacks for sure, which is phenomenal. Came in as a rookie. He had like 4 interceptions.
Oh, he did.
Yeah.
Oh, he did.
Yeah.
He did.
Dude had like maybe not 3 or 4
somewhere around. I get what you're saying.
You know what
I remember seeing that.
And I don't know if I don't think anybody could have seen him affect the pass game in that way as well. So definitely a special player. Definitely a guy that's translated well. He didn't make my list, and this was the knock, I guess, or you know, I'll say pseudo knock against Aiden Hutchinson is I don't know how much better he'll be. Like this 9.5 sacks. The thing that I don't want to say concerned, but like I think he was already closer. He was closer to his ceiling than a lot of other prospects. Kayvon Thibodeau, another one, Trayvon Walker. So he's better than those guys. He was better than those guys day one coming in the door. But whereas he's kind of he's knocking on the door of his ceiling, and those guys, Trayvon Walker's on his floor, and we think he can go somewhere. And then Kayvon Thibodeau was a little higher than that. But that's the only knock. So I don't know how much better the production will get. Now, if you get 9.5 sacks, 2-3 interceptions, 3-4 fumbles, if you get that for 10 years, you know what they call those guys? Call them borderline Hall of Famers. You know what I'm saying? Those type of numbers, you extend it over a decade, and that can get you some type of consideration or get you in that mix. It'll get him in a ring of honor in Detroit at the very least. So he can go down as an all-time Detroit Lions defender with that style of production. But does that style of production necessarily get you into that upper room, that other room? Does that get you into conversations, with guys like, help any number of guys? I don't want to give away the list, but
I was
you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I don't want to give away the list. But it doesn't necessarily get you in those conversations, with the guys that sit at the VIP table. It gets you in the club. It don't necessarily get you in the bottle service though. You feel me? And so that's how I would characterize that, and that's why I left him off my list, because I just don't know how much more he has to give. But I do like his inclusion as well, because like I said, Chop was a baseball guy. Nobody turns down a doubles hitter at all. You always got room for a doubles hitter on your team.
Ain't no way.
And that's exactly what Aiden Hutchinson is to me.
Okay, absolutely. I feel that, Willie Jack. I understand where you're coming from. It's not like it doesn't make much sense, but the other part of that too is I think as long as Detroit continues to build around him or get more pieces around him, I think they'd also help him become better too and have better production. So we'll see how that goes, man. But I'm gonna go ahead and roll into my number 9, Willie Jack. And my number 9 is a guy over in Carolina, man. I'm gonna go over to Carolina, and I'm gonna go with Brian Burns. This is another guy I'm not sure Willie Jack has on this list, but I'm gonna jump into him. You know what I mean? It feels like Burns right now is finally starting to hit his stride. Okay, he's been in the league a couple years, still a young guy. I believe he's maybe 25,
26, right
in
there.
Sweet spot. Yeah, so right around there. I think he's finally starting to hit his stride, and I think this last year he emerged as one of the true like dangerous and premier pass rushers in the NFL. Okay. He just experienced career highs in all the stats across the board in terms of like sacks, tackles for loss, QB hits. Like this was the best year he's had as a starter thus far, and it looks like he's finally got a grasp of the game. Okay, it's one thing to see a guy where it's like, oh man, he might have had a year, just a one-off. Like we were talking about with Shaq Barrett a few years ago. When Shaq Barrett had that season where it was like, man, he's just balling. It didn't look like his game actually improved. It just looked like, sometimes
he got that last good year of Ndamukong Suh clogging it up. You know what I'm saying?
That could be.
Yeah.
They could be. But that defense was just a monster that year anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But you know how sometimes a player, when you're going through a season, and sometimes everything is going your way.
Mm-hmm.
The ball is just rolling to you. Like the ball somehow finds you. Sachs was just finding him that particular year. So I don't think that this was the same case with Brian Burns, because you saw improvement and maturity in this game. You saw the way that he was getting after the pass rush. You saw the extra effort that he was putting in. Like those were things that he decided within himself, like, all right, I've got to get better at these things. I'm gonna work on these things, and I'm gonna put it on the field. And he showed to be one of the sure pieces of this Carolina defense, underrated Carolina defense. At that, they were a pretty good defense. The thing with the Carolina defense was that they just didn't get a lot of recognition because they just weren't a very good team. But if anything, this defense was very competitive. They played very hard, and it was led by, a guy like Brian Burns, along with a few other pieces on the defense. But Brian Burns was one of the better pieces on this defense, and I think he's going to continue to show that, hey, I'm here to stay. I want to establish myself as one of the better, edge rushers or edge defenders in this league, and to me, he showed that this past season.
Now, I love that you have Brian Burns on your list. Oh. Brian Burns was actually, he was right in that mix he was right in my mix for 9 and 10. And then what's funny, I actually had him at 10. Then I was like, man, I'm tripping. I can't leave. I couldn't do that, man. I had to give him sign ready his Flyers, man. He had almost slipped my mind. But so Brian Burns was the guy I wanted on my list as well. And it's for a lot of the reasons that Chop just said. And so definitely this year, I think he ended up finishing with 12.5 sacks. And so I think, definitely career high there. But just like Chop said, I'm a fan of his game as well. It definitely looks like he's like came into his own. And so I definitely think that this past season was a stepping stone onto what we're going to see and experience from him going forward. And just like Chop said, man, that Carolina defense is something serious. And so we all remember the run they went on last year to maintain their competitiveness with all the turmoil and everything that was going on the other side of the ball, and with the coaching staff and the quarterback situation. You ship off your best player on the team in C-Mac across the country. And so all that stuff's going on around him, and that defense stayed competitive and kept them in a lot of games. And just like Chop said, there's a lot of budding stars there. You've got Brian Burns. Derek Brown is a very, very good interior defender on that interior defensive line. Then you've got that dog, man. I can't wait to see my dog, J.C. Horn, on the edge as well, Dante Jackson. So there's a lot of good pieces on that defense for sure. And just like my dog Chop said, man, spearheaded by a young guy like Brian Burns getting after the quarterback. So I definitely love his inclusion on the list. And then, man, I'm glad you got him on here, because he was going to be probably one of my first honorable mentions as well. So I definitely agree, man. I think the arrows point up on him for sure. And so can't wait to see what's going on next.
Gotcha. Well, Willie Jack, come on with it, man. Give me your 9-8, man. Come on, roll it on around, man.
9 right here, man. And I'm gonna be a little bit of a homer here, but 9, I've got Alex Highsmith. So he's the outside linebacker on the opposite side of TJ Watt. And so came off his own career year this year as well, 14.5 sacks. And the thing about it is he's a young guy. He's shown a lot of potential this year. He really put it together and he filled up the stat sheet, and we see that. But the good thing about that is he was I think he was our primary edge rusher for 9 games this year while TJ Watt was out. And so that for me was a key thing to see him still kind of find his way and be productive with TJ being out. Now, he's definitely a better rusher when TJ's in the game and involved as well. But the fact is that he was still productive with TJ missing quite a bit of time this past year. And like I said, and then he finishes this year with 14.5 sacks. He's also a guy similar to Brian Burns. He's coming into his own at the right time. He's a young guy. And so we're trying to re-sign him now. But I think he's a guy that's truly ascending. He's a guy, small school guy, came from University of Charlotte. Don't nobody know. I don't even know what level it is. That's AA. I couldn't take that's AA ball. I don't know if that's it. I don't know what it is. But the thing I liked about him, even when he got in, is he came in with a good understanding of actual rush moves. And so he's a guy that actually has good hand movement. He has good moves. And so now that he's got the actual stats to kind of validate or back up his like the potential that we've seen, I'm so anxious to see what type of year he turns in now and what's going to be a contract year. And now he's got TJ Watt healthy and on the other side. And so you gave me 14.5 last year with TJ Watt missing almost half the season. And so now I think that number stays similar, and maybe he gets him a little easier now. But I think he's a guy. I think we're going to see back-to-back years for him sitting right there around that 15 sack mark. And so I'm excited to see where he's going to go in here.
So I understand it because you're a homer.
Yeah,
I understand it because you're a homer.
You know
what I mean? And I'm trying to show you a little bit of love, you know what I'm saying? Because you gotta be warm and welcome to your company. You know what I'm saying? You gotta be warm and welcome to your company. But no, I understand you the homer. He didn't quite make my list. And it was for the reasons that a lot of people would probably assume. And for me, it was Alex Highsmith. To me, I think is a product of a lot of the other players around him. More so than him. Getting on his own. Now, 9 games. That's a lot of games to show that you can still be productive on your own. And that's cool, and maybe he does. He didn't quite do it for me this year, but maybe he does continue to step into that limelight, and really show that he can be a top 10 defensive edge rusher in this particular league, man. So didn't quite make my list, but hey, I ain't mad at you, Willie Jack. Ain't nothing wrong with being a homer.
No, I ain't gonna lie, man. I think my dog's gonna put some numbers this year, man. I ain't gonna lie. I think that our defense is a whole. I got high hopes for my.
You told me something about y'all being winning the division or something. You said something like that, man. That's what I heard you say.
Don't tell everybody. Let us stay below the radar, man. That's how we like it.
That's the same thing you said last year. You said, don't tell nobody. We coming though. Don't tell nobody.
If TJ don't get hurt, man, hey, it's a different ball game. I'm telling you. Okay, yeah, man. So, but no, I'm excited to see what he's gonna do this year, man. I think this is gonna be. It's a prove year, a contract year, and we know how guys tend to show up in those contract years. I can't promise you what somebody does the year after a contract year, after you get paid or not. But the contract year. That's what I'm saying. I'm expecting a monster year to prove himself because he wants 20 M's from somebody, whether it be us in black and gold, hopefully, or somebody else. But I got a feeling, man, he's out there every game for him, man. He's scratching Powerball tickets every single game, every time he's on the field. And so he's the guy looking to get paid. There's no better motivation than looking at possibly $100 million in your future. And so I think guys gonna have it go crazy this year.
Okay. Yeah, all right. Well, we're gonna see. We're gonna see. Well, rolling to your number 8, man. Who you got at number 8, man? Let's. I see. I feel the list getting ready to pick up a little bit. It's about to pick up a little bit of steam. So who you got at 8, man?
Number 8. I went ahead and went with an oldie but goodie. I'm anticipating he's coming back healthy. And for my money, man, when this guy's healthy, he's a guy that for this generation, our generation, that really kind of set the mold or set the standard at the position. And I'm still talking about Von Miller. Healthy Von Miller coming off the edge, even at this age now, he's got to be, 32, 33, suffered an injury. And we saw the impact of him leaving, leave that Bills defense losing him, the injury, and how they were completely different defense with versus without Von Miller, even at the advanced age that he's at. But coming back healthy, if he's healthy and turning the corner, nobody turns the corner like Von Miller in this league. Nobody's turned the corner like that in the last decade or so with that type of speed, that type of bend. And so I think a guy that still set a lot of trends for a lot of these guys we see now. A guy like a Micah Parsons, slightly undersized, but completely explosive. Just too fast for offensive linemen to get their hands on. Von Miller was that guy that kind of set that mold and set that trend for, like I said, this generation. And if he's healthy and he's lining up, then man, it's hard for me to say that Von Miller's still not one of the elite guys at the position, rushing passer. Assuming, like I said, he's healthy on the field. So, gave the OG some love, man. Von Miller, I still got him at 8.
I got you. And Willie Jack, the crazy part is. Your boy got him in number 8 too, man.
Okay.
I got him in number 8 too, man.
You learn a little something.
I'm learning a little something.
Yeah, a little bit.
Man, I'm watching a bit. But Von Miller is one of those guys, like Willie Jack said, man. When he's on the field, man, you gotta know where he's at. You gotta account for him because he can wreck a game, and I've seen it, firsthand as a Rams fan at the end of games where if it wasn't Aaron Donald closing it out, it was Von Miller. You know what I'm saying? And Von Miller was just as important to that defense as your Jalen Ramsey's and, some of the other big names that we had out there. He closed a lot of those games down, and one in particular against, a team in your division with the Baltimore Ravens.
Oh, yeah.
Them having the ball, fourth quarter, driving down the field, and then boom, all of a sudden, Von Miller, big, I think it was either second or third down sack to create third or fourth and long, which pretty much sealed the deal for that game, man. That's the type of impact that Von Miller can have when he's on the field. And like you said, we saw that difference, when he went out for the Bills, and we saw the difference when he came to the Rams in the playoffs. So a huge difference, man. Definitely loved having him, as a part of our Super Bowl run. We got to where we needed to go. We got that Super Bowl, and he got on up out of there. Got that bag and got on up out of there.
100 meals later, he's in Buffalo.
Got that bag and got on up out of there, man. And that's another reason I feel like teams are kind of sleeping on Buffalo, because I don't think people really realize the impact that Von Miller has on teams when he's out there.
Oh, yeah.
People forgot about it because he was injured so earlier in the season and missed pretty much the entire season, but he's coming back. Oh, he's gonna be here.
Oh, yeah.
And fully healthy, man. That's a different story, man. When you got that guy coming off the edge to close out games, and then you still got, Josh Allen on the other side still putting up the points that he's gonna put up. I don't see that's not gonna be any different. The difference is gonna be that boy getting after the passer as long as he stays healthy. So I got Von Miller in my A spot. Not quite the top guy, on my list anymore, because he's getting a little older. So he's getting up there a little bit, but he is still, one of the better guys, in this league, as long as he's on fire, man. As long as he balls.
Day one, first ballot. Nobody even thinks or blinks about it. Hall of Famer when he hangs them up. They'll start counting down until his gold jacket comes 5 years later. So unquestionably, man, one of the greatest, man. One of the greats, one of the goats at the position.
Gotcha. Now, here at my number 7, Willie Jack. Here is where I have Hassan Reddick, man.
Okay.
So I got Hassan Reddick at this spot for a couple different reasons. All right. I thought this was a little low as well. When I had him at 7, you had him at 10, which I'm not opposed to that either. I'm cool with that. But I had him on number 7 because I still felt like he, was a little bit more polished than a guy like I had like a Brian Burns and Aiden Hutchinson. Those are guys that still, moving up the ranks. Hassan Reddick, even with this last year being such a strong defensive line performance by the whole Eagles defensive line in general, Hassan Reddick was already a pass rush specialist. So he was already a guy that could still get after the pass rush regardless of what was around him. So he kind of proved himself. This time around, he had a defensive coordinator in Jonathan Gannon who would put him in position to where he had those matchups that we talk about still to this day that prevents the 49ers from even having a chance from starting the game. The line, because he's lined up in this wide 9, he can go rush the pass rusher and only have to worry about a tight end and try to block him.
Man, Hassan Reddick was in a 13. Like you're
right.
He's so wide outside. It's a straight beeline to quarterbacks.
A tackle has no chance of getting out of there to try to block him from where he's rushing from, and it showed. Got past the tight end, end up hurting Brock Purdy. That was the end of that for the 49ers from the very first quarter of that game. So that's what you got. You have to figure out different ways to try to block Hassan Reddick, because if there's one thing he's going to do is he's going to get after the passing. He's going to get there fast too. He's one of the more athletic edge rushers. Coming off of the edge and making those different types of plays. So he's the guy where I felt like he was already established. And he's still young too. He's still good. They still added some more pieces to help him out on that defensive line. And I think he's going to continue to get after the pass rusher. I still think he's going to do that. He's not that much of a presence in the run game, like you said, Willie Jack, which is why he is at the number 7 spot. But if he continues to improve, maybe he improves a little bit more of his run support, or maybe he just becomes so overly dominant at pass rushing in general. We just talked about a guy named Von Miller. Von Miller's not the best run defender in the league, but he is such a game wrecker in general when it comes to like that his pass rush, that it doesn't matter. When Von Miller was, what was it, 2000? What was the year the Denver Broncos won the Super Bowl?
2015. That was
2015.
Year, yeah.
2015. Von Miller was the best edge defender in the league, bar none.
2015 Von is in an all-time category. If you pick one rusher from like one season, like Von is in a conversation with some of the best years we've seen from anybody that's played the position in the history of this game.
Even better than JJ Watt?
No.
I had to try you. I had to try you, dog.
Next to Reggie White, prime JJ was different, man. Prime JJ was different. But Vine for me, if from our generation, our era,
generation,
I would definitely say Von Miller is the second greatest pass rusher. I would still have J.J. Watt, and then I would probably have Von Miller as the two top guys for like our generation.
Yeah,
like
I don't think we ever seen two pass rushers better than those two of our generation. The guys that we got a chance to see. Yeah. Well, Reggie White was playing, but I was in Pampers. No, I probably wasn't in Pampers. I was too young to know football. Is essentially where I was at. But yeah, I'm with you on that, Willie Jack. I'm definitely with you. Von Miller special, man. But Hassan Reddick, man, is also one of those guys that I think that he can be a good pass rusher for a long time. So. Yeah. That's why I got Hassan Reddick in my number 7 spot.
Yeah, no, and like I said, I can't be mad at it, man. Especially when you look at that production, and then just kind of like we were saying, man. I think a lot of it is that scheme and what Gannon was able to do for him. Also, keep in mind, Gannon's gone now.
Yeah,
Gannon's gone now. So I imagine, I think and I can't think of the guy's name. It starts with an E, and it's a different name. The guy who's going to fill in as the defensive coordinator now. I would imagine if it's not broke, you don't try to fix it. So I would imagine that the role they use Hassan Reddick in is still going to be, pretty similar to what he's been doing. Like I said, man, let the big boys clog up all them gaps up front to keep everybody busy, and then just let him pin his ears back and fly off the edge.
If I'm pronouncing it correct, and I don't know if I should ask you.
Don't ask me,
because you might not be the guy I asked to pronounce the name for him. But it looks like maybe Sean Desai, and maybe how you pronounce it. I'll wait till one of these announcers say it on one of these channels to know exactly what it is. But I know the first name Sean. His name is Sean, the new defensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles. I would imagine he'll run some type of system or similar system that Jonathan Gannon did, especially with him coming up under Jonathan Gannon as he was already with the Eagles. So
that's right. He was within.
Yeah, he got promoted from within. So
probably more the same.
It should be a similar system, but we'll see. You never know. Some people like to put their own spin on things, but we'll see how that works.
For sure.
Willie Jack, what's up, man? You got 7 for me?
Yeah. Now 7 is where this one he hasn't really put up the eye-popping sack numbers, but he's a guy that's definitely kind of came into his own, and I think he's a guy that's ready to hit the league or put the league on notice by giving us those double-digit sack numbers that look so gaudy that we like to see. This is Rashawn Gary, outside linebacker, edge defender from the Packers. So Rashawn Gary, funny story about Rashawn Gary. Chop was on my head about Rashawn Gary coming out of Michigan because it was him and Winovich. And Winovich had the better production. He had the hotter motor and all this, but Rashawn had going for him what Chase just didn't have. He was 6'5", 270, and the boy ran like 4.58.
Something like that. He was a freak. He was an athlete. He was a freak.
Yeah.
And even the first year, I still think I had him beat. I had Willie beat a little bit on this Chase Winovich. Chase Winovich was all right with the Patriots. He was all right, man. He was doing his thing, but then he fell off the face of the earth, man. I don't know where he's at now. But then on the other side of that coin, Rashawn Gary, like I said, was a little bit more of he was a little bit of a slow burn. So he had to kind of come in and get himself settled and really kind of acclimate. I think his game is better suited for the pro game and then in that system. But here's a guy, that type of size, that type of explosiveness. And what I liked about him, even when he was coming into Michigan, heavy hands. Like he's a guy that looks like he's got mitts. You know what I mean? Like puts his hands on boys and stops boys in their tracks. And so I think he may have had 6-7 sacks just this past year. But deeper than just the raw sack numbers, I think this is a guy who's going to have his way with any tight end not named George Kittle in this league. You're toast. You're done. And then for a lot of these tackles as well, he's going to overpower and outquick a lot of these guys. Not as strong as a Khalil Mack in his heyday, but quicker than a Khalil Mack in his heyday. So take a little power off and give him a little more juice. And I think that's the kind of combination of size, strength, and speed that we have in Rashawn Gary. And so I really think, going into this year now, I think he's really kind of found himself. And now I think we'll start to see those sack numbers back it up. And then also just that Packers defense as well. You still got, I like Jair Alexander in that secondary, and so I like what they've got at the linebacker position from our boy came over and balled out. Can't think of his name at the linebacker position, but no, that's still a nice unit that's got pieces across all three levels, and then also with Aaron no longer in the building, and now you've got the young quarterback Jordan Love, and so I think that team is gonna slow it down a little bit. They're gonna slow down. They're gonna lean a little bit more on that defense, lean a little bit more on that run game as well when you have a young guy. And so I think
with the defense now being the kind of forefront or kind of looking to lead that team now, as opposed to the offensive Ryan, I think this is a year that we can really see a guy like Rashawn Gary come out and put together a pretty just dominant year across both sides of the ball as well. Like I said, so I don't know if he's going to be a guy that gets me 15 sacks, but I think he may be a guy that gets me 12, 13 sacks, but he's also going to rate as a top 5 run defender as well, I think. And so I think playing the best of both worlds, I think he's going to have a fantastic year coming up.
So you talking about Devondre Campbell?
Devondre Campbell, there we go. Yeah. The boy showed up and went crazy. I think he led that first year. He either led like top 3 in tackles in the league. I think he got definitely made a Pro Bowl, but he was just flying around everywhere and definitely made his impact felt, man, and made a name for himself there and found a real home. And so happy to see what they got going there going forward.
Hey, and if he can do that, Willie Jack, you know who that sound like?
Who that?
Sound like Julius Peppers, man. Sound like Julius Peppers, man. If you telling me Rashawn Gary can get around like maybe 10, 11, 12 sacks a year, and still he has Julius Peppers was a different, but he was a little bigger.
He was a different
bigger. He's faster, stronger, probably
6'7", 290. Vertical was like 40. You know what I mean? Like
Julius Peppers was different, man. But that's the area Julius Peppers kind of stuck around in. Julius Peppers was one of those guys that didn't have huge sack numbers, but Julius Peppers also affected the game in so many different ways. You know what I'm saying? In terms of, not only getting after the pass rusher, we know he could do that, but also just in a run game. You couldn't move him. You also can put him down in the
slide him inside
one and play a 3 technique, and he can battle some of those guards on the inside, battle those double coverages. I mean those double teams and get off of those blocks. So Julius Peppers is one of those guys, man. So hey, if you telling me Rashawn Gary is that man, then that's to me that's what it sounded like to me, Willie Jack.
Hey, I'm not gonna lie, man. I can see when the way you described it, like I definitely think that's the type of impact we can get from Rashawn Gary, man, going forward for sure. But hey, man, we're real quick, man. Let's shout out one of them members in the building, man. Shout out to our dog, man. Real Deal STL Sports is in the building, man. Hey, we appreciate the love, homeboy. What's going on, man?
Hey, he's shouting out Real Deal STL Sports, and he in STL. Skinny.
Hey, come on, man. Hey, I was out here getting busy too. You hear me? You should have seen me. You know what I'm saying? I had to hit Lindbergh. You know what I'm saying? Caught 270. You know what I'm saying? One more time back this way. You know what I'm saying? Caught 67 north. You know what I'm saying? I was pushing. Man, you hear me? Hey, man. Hey, I was out here moving, boy.
The boy was naming streets like he was from here or something, man. You almost fooled me. I thought you lived there, man.
Like I know a little something.
A little something.
And shout out to my dog.
Facts. All right, Willie Jack, roll into your number 6, man. Who we got at number 6, man?
Number 6. This is where I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Big Bosa, man. Joey Bosa, defensive end, edge player, or outside linebacker, defensive end from the Chargers. And so he's a guy, man. I mean, injuries, and so he's a guy that he tends to battle injuries, or he gets bit or nicked up by the injury bug. But when he's on the field as well, he's another guy that can be very dominant in both the run game and as a rusher as well. He is a guy that threatens 12 to 15 sacks as well. And so really liked him when he come out of Ohio State. And then the thing about him and his brother as well, both of them, they're the sons of a coach, and that's what jumped off on both their films watching them come out of Ohio State. Fantastic hand usage. And so trench play is there's 3 keys to trench play. One primarily is always going to be leverage. Low man is always going to win. Leverage, get off, hand usage. You've got to have those 3. And I think Joey Bosa is probably just as technically proficient with his hands as anybody in the league. And so like I said, when he's on the field, definitely a game record. Like I said, missed a lot of time this last year. Anticipate he comes back. He's healthy. That Charger team has a lot of energy around it as well. They're tired of being little brother to the Chiefs in that division. Child's boy Jellyfish Justin, or what would you call him?
Jay Herb.
Jay Herbo.
Jay Herb.
Yeah, man. Oh, Jay Herb. Man, Chop's got that boy taking another step. This year. Like I said, they're tired of being in the shadows of Kansas City. And if they take another step on offense, then they're definitely going to need their captain on the defensive side of the ball, Joey Bosa, to really step up and take his game to another level as well. And this is a guy, man, if he's healthy and on the field, he can definitely do so. And so I've got him sliding in at 6. Again, like I said, anticipate he comes back fully healthy and fully ready to go. Then yeah, it's not too many guys that can affect the game the way he can off the edge.
Absolutely. And Willie Jack, I got him in my number 6 spot too, man.
Boy, I try to tell y'all. Look at that. I show up one day. Boy, look at him. Look at this. I'm rubbing off on him already. I told you.
Anyway, man, I got Joey Bosa in my number 6 spot, man. So for me, Joey Bosa is one of those guys where he has the talent, man. He has the talent to be a top edge defender in this league. I mean, of course, most people would already consider him that because I mean he made up for our top 10 list. Mm-hmm. But I'm talking about top tier, like in that top tier of guys.
I get it
with the guys that we're gonna get to in just a minute. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And you can name them up. Y'all probably know who's coming up. Know the names, you know what I mean? But he is a guy that can be in that top tier. It's just, can you be consistent? Can you stay on the field? You know, though that was the biggest thing with him. It's like he's on the field, off the field, on the field, off the field. He'll flash and show a season where it's like, see, man, this is what we expected. He's the real deal. And then you have a season like last year where he plays 5 total games all year long. You know what I'm saying? So that is the thing that we're waiting to see from Joey Bosa. And, you know, just like he said, Jay Herb coming through with his MVP season in 2023, he's going to need guys like Joey Bosa to close it out on the other end. You know what I'm saying? When Jay Herb go punch the touchdown in with 56 seconds left, he needs somebody, you know what I'm saying, on the other side of that ball to go get it. You know what I'm saying? And if he doesn't quite get there, he needs a guy that can at least, you know, fluster the passer to where J.C. Jackson picks it off, you know what I'm saying, the back end. This is a circle of things of how everything can work. I'm painting a picture to y'all so y'all can see it, you know what I'm saying? Because it's gonna happen probably a couple times this season. But what I'm saying is Joey Bosa has all the talent in the world. He has all the talent that he needs, the size, the length, and strength, you know, athletic ability. He has it all. He has the full package. You know, it's funny. He has the package on defense, and Justin Herbert has the package on offense. Justin Herbert hasn't battled the type of injuries that Joey Bosa has, but both of them are looking for different reasons to put it together and have those full seasons. And if Joey Bosa can put it together, man, we're going to be he's easily 13 sacks. If he stays healthy, that's pretty much 13 sacks. You can almost count it, almost write it down. Oh, yeah. You know what I'm saying? So he's that type of guy, has that type of talent. Like we said, it's just injuries. Stay on the field.
And also another thing, if you think about that Chargers team as a whole, or specifically that defense, that seems to be like kind of the story of all their stars. You've got Joey Bosa, who, if he's on the field, he's elite. You've got Derwin James. If he's on the field, he's elite. But the problem is with both those guys is they tend to miss too much. They miss a little more. They miss maybe more time than either of us want them to. And so it's just funny but the trajectory of both those players, if they can be healthy and be on the field, you're hard pressed to find anybody better than either one of those guys at their respective positions. And so, yeah, definitely agree with you. Like I said, man, we right in step with Joey Bosa right there for sure.
Okay, and I don't know what your number 5 is, Willie Jack, but I'm gonna jump into mine. And you probably got the same number 5 that I got if you're smart. You know what I mean? So my number 5 guy is Max Crosby, man. Max Crosby from the Las Vegas Raiders. He comes in my number 5. So here's the thing about Max Crosby, man. He is he's an underdog. He's a lifetime underdog type of guy. Mm-hmm. Drafted in the 3rd round. He's not a top tier draft pick. You know what I'm saying? Came into the league, didn't have the best anything. He wasn't the biggest. He wasn't the tallest. He wasn't the fastest. You know, he wasn't the strongest. Like he wasn't the most athletic. Like normally your top guys have something that's in an elite category. For him, he worked his way into that. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. He grinded. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, he was an underdog. People always counted him out. And I feel like he, right now, to this day, is still one of the more underrated edge defenders in this particular league, man. I don't think he gets the credit that he truly deserves as a top edge defender in this league. I mean, I think he's truly a top 5 guy. He shows the ability to be a great pass disruptor or a great pass rusher. But I think he also is underrated when it comes to his ability to play against the run. He not only led his team, his entire team, not just the defensive line, not just, you know, a certain group. He led the team in tackles. I
did not realize that.
And he also led the league in tackles for loss. That tells me a couple things. He only had 12.5 sacks. You know, and that's the area
Well,
he usually.
don't say only. 12.5 sacks is that's solid production. Well,
the reason I'm saying this is because okay, a lot of people like to put the tackles for loss with his sacks, and it's like, no, he had 12 and a half. You know, and 12 and a half is very good. That's a solid season. But boy was getting in the backfield making tackles. He was in on a lot of plays. That means when the play was on the other side of the field, he was busting his butt down the line to go get to that ball carrier and stop him. You know what I mean? How many times have we seen people trace down, plays from the backside and watching him on film? That's what he did. He did a lot of that on a game by game basis, and he was one of the better players. The best player on that particular defense, trying to hold it together. He's going to be that guy, and going to be that guy again this year. And Max Crosby is a very, very good edge defender, and that's why I got him on my number 5 spot, man. He deserves a little bit more credit. Max Crosby is doing his thing, man. So I got Max in my number 5 spot with Jack.
Hey, look, I got to tell y'all something right now, man. It's something in this St. Louis water. Because Max Crosby is also my number 5 edge defender, and it's just like Chop was saying. 12 and a half sacks, 22 tackles for loss. He forced 3 fumbles. Now, mind you, I didn't realize he led that team in tackles as well. That's a phenomenal stat to have as a guy, like I said, as a defensive lineman, a guy that lines up with his head in the dirt as well. And so that's a phenomenal accomplishment. But just like Chop said, he doesn't have, I don't think he has like a pseudo like elite attribute, just kind of like Chop was saying, right. But he really is the jack of all trades. He really does maximize his ability, and it shows itself in his effort and motor to the ball. I think that's where he truly excels. Is just like Chop said, balls away doesn't matter. I'm busting hump. I'm chasing that down. I got you. You ain't going nowhere. I will say he does have. He's got one of the better first steps I think I've seen in the league at this position as well. Now, is it elite? I don't necessarily know if it's elite, but he's got a very good initial burst right there off the line. And like I said, man, his motor's never going to stop. He doesn't always win with that first move, but he's a guy, he keeps going. His hands stay active, and he will get home. And so for a lot of the reasons that Chop just said is right, I've also got him at my number 5 as well, man. Yeah, man, I'm telling you what, you might be on to something today, boy. You might be on to something today.
It's something in the water.
Yeah, it's something in St. Louis water today, for sure.
My dog Willie Jack said something in the water, man. But yeah, man, we both got him in my number 5 spot, and I think this is a perfect spot, man, for us to take a little bit of a break, man. Mm-hmm. We're gonna go ahead and take a little bit of break, and then once we come back, Willie Jack is gonna come back with his 4, and I'll hit you with the 4-3, man. So stay tuned. You know what I'm saying? Listen, because this is very important news that's coming up, man. And we'll check you out in a minute, man.
We be back.
Episode of Let the Film Speak, hosted by the wonderfully handsome and intelligent brothers of Let the Film Speak. That's Chop and your main man, Willie Jack. Yeah, feel me. Also brought to you by the 3 amigos. Y'all know them and you love them, man. That's the 3 amigos. That's like, that's share, that's subscribe. That's 3 the hard way. That's a 3-piece spicy. You cannot go wrong. Now, I say the same thing every week, so y'all can say it at home with me. I know y'all ready for it. Here we go. It's 3 amigos, but it's 4 parts to this process, big dog. First, you just got to tap in. Like my dog said, man, come in, tap in. Just say what's up, man. Just holler. Hey, what's up, 3 amigos, man? Like, share, subscribe. Hey, Chop, man. Willie, man, what's going on, man? It's cool. I sit on the couch. For sure. Y'all got some cold to drink? Oh, man, my man. Yeah. Oh, yeah. By the way, man, I'm a Broncos fan. That's all you got to do. That's it. That's easy. And Chop, come in, sit down, get comfortable, get a cool adult beverage, and let us know who you ride with, big dog. Then tell a friend. Like, man, it's nice feeling here, ain't it? Man, it's cool, man. My homeboy was out. He was down. Man, it's cool. I can tell a friend. Tell a friend, man. And you know what? Even better than that, you can tell your friend to tell a friend. Guess what? There's more. You can tell your friend to bring his partner to. Bring one more because we need 4, man. Bring them up into the penthouse. Tap in with your dogs, man. Wednesdays at 7 o'clock. You know we don't wear no watches. We ain't got nowhere else to be but in here kicking football flavor with the fam. And now back to the regularly scheduled program.
All right.
Yes, sir, man. Back in this thing.
We back in this thing, man. Yeah. And we're going to keep this list going, man. We both just went through our number 5s. Let's do a small little recap really quick, man.
Sure.
Let you know who of our guys so far, man. Who was your 10 through 5 so far, Willie Jack?
Got you. 10 for your boy, man. I had Hassan Reddick. 9, Alex Highsmith. 8, the man, the myth, the legend, Von Miller. 7, Rashawn Gary. 6, Joey Bosa. And 5, I had the boy, Max Crosby.
Gotcha. And for my 10 through 5, man, I went Aiden Hutchinson at my number 10 spot. Number 9, I had Brian Burns. Number 8, I went with Von Miller, 7, Hassan Reddick, 6, Joey Bosa, and 5, I also have Max Crosby, man. But Willie Jack, we ain't gonna keep him holding, man. We're gonna keep on pushing. It's time for you to drop the number 4 guy, man. Who you got as your number 4 spot, big dog?
Hey, man, look, man, you can call it what you want, man. I'm gonna call him Baby LT, man. That's Michael Parsons, man. Dallas Cowboys' very own. And this thing about that too, Chop.
Hold on.
If y'all remember his rookie year, I posed the question like, hey, man, is this what it was like seeing young LT hit the league? And now I've seen that taken and ran with from PFF, PFT, you name it. I've seen that comparison thrown around for like the last 2 years now. But you heard it here first from your dogs, man. Michael Parsons.
Hold on, Willie Jack.
What's up?
Hold on, bro. How are you gonna
What the problem
start this? How you gonna start this off?
Yeah.
Mentioning the comparison between him and LT. And he at your number 4 spot, dog?
Yeah. Baby LT. Baby LT. Diet Coke. You know
Diet Coke.
Diet Coke.
It ain't the actual Coke.
Hey, it ain't the actual Coke, but it's better than RC though.
It's better.
You know what I'm saying?
Hey, it's better than RC.
Yeah,
better than RC.
But the reason I say that is because it's a guy that size, speed profile, and this is a guy as a linebacker, defensive end, edge player, defensive weapon, whatever you want to call him. He's probably he may be the fastest guy on that defense, and I mean the fastest guy on that defense. I'm talking about if he lines up, and there's footage of these guys like of him racing other guys on the team and practices and things of this nature. And if there's a guy faster than him on that team, there's not 2 of them. And so phenomenal athlete all the way across the board, came in as a stack linebacker, moves the defensive end in a pinch. And let me tell y'all why the universe don't make no mistakes. Imagine if Tank Lawrence, DeMarcus Lawrence, doesn't go down Michael Parsons' rookie season, and we never see him forced into that edge rusher role. And now we just still get him as I'm sure he'd be extremely productive and fly around and make a lot of plays as a stack backer, but we may not have stumbled upon his pass rush prowess, because this was a guy at Penn State. They moved him from defensive end to linebacker to kind of more so free him up and just see ball, get ball. Just a guy that could flow sideline to sideline, cliche as it sounds. And so they moved him all the way around. He gets put back into edge duties because of an injury to Tank Lawrence, and then goes crazy, sets the defensive world on fire that rookie year. And he's maintained that explosiveness, that dangerousness. And like I said, man, a guy who, I think 13 and a half, I just had it pulled up, 13 and a half sacks just this last year. And he's a guy that for as long as he's doing it, for as long as he's healthy, for as long as he's on the field, he's a guy that I think is going to stay in that top 5 mix as far as sack production goes. And then also bigger than just the raw production. This is why the difference between a guy like Michael Parsons and a guy like Hassan Reddick, and I'm not trying to pick on Hassan Reddick, Eagles fans, and my dog Chop. I'm not necessarily picking on him, but I wouldn't call Hassan Reddick a difference maker, even though he's a guy that had 18 sacks or 17 sacks. I don't necessarily feel that he's an individual difference maker. Like I said, I think is as great as the sum of his parts, whereas Michael Parsons made an impact on that defense, and now everybody's better on that defense because of Michael Parsons versus Hassan Reddick being the best version of himself because of that defense. And so I think that's the difference. And so I think in that way, he's truly special. I think only the guys at the top can have that kind of effect on the team as a whole. A type of guy that galvanizes the team. What Marshawn Lynch did to the heyday of the Seahawks playing, where Marshawn makes a run and gets defense hype. Well, Michael Parsons makes a play because it may be a sack, it may be a forced fumble, it may be a deflection or an interception. He makes a play, and now the offense runs on the field with juice because of what he's doing. You know what I'm saying? Like if he's going well, everybody is buoyed by his performance, his energy.
He lifts the play of everybody around.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so I think that's the difference with a guy like him. And so he's a guy, man. There's nothing on the football field that he can't do. And I think if they need Tony Pollard got injured, Zeke is at the door. Michael Parsons can give me about 8 carries. Michael Parsons give me 8 carries, 60 yards, and he'll probably break one. You know what I mean? Like there's just nothing he can't do. And so probably the most individual, he's one of the most individually dangerous defenders across the whole league. And this is still, like I said, a young guy. He's going into this is going to be, I think, maybe his 3rd, 4th year. So still extremely young. And like I said, the arrow's only pointing up. And again, this is the thing about it as well. He's still super young at the position. He's been playing defensive end for 2.5 seasons now in the league, and he's one of the premier guys at the position, and a guy who made the transition from college stack linebacker. And so that's scary to think about. And so, like I said, the arrow's only pointing up. He's only getting better. And like I said, man, this is the guy. The sky is truly the roof for this type of player. And so, like I said, man, I've got him down at 4. And honestly, it was very close for him for me at 4 and 3. But at this point, I'll give him 4. I'll still give him a little more to work towards. But easily a guy that in 2 years, if he said he's duking it out with number 1, nobody's going to be surprised at all.
Gotcha. All right, Willie Jack. Well, hey, I will get to Michael Parsons very shortly.
I believe
you know what I'm saying. So I won't hold you there. But I am going to jump into my number 4. And my number 4, I'm gonna go over to San Francisco, man. I'm gonna go with Nick Bosa. Now, first and foremost, let me say this: my top 4 guys, in my opinion, are the top tier guys. This is the tier for me. You got top tier guys, and you got the next tier, whatever. Starting at my number 5 goes into the next tier of guys for me. You know what I'm saying? So this is the top tier guy, Nick Bosa. You know what I'm saying? So in my opinion, if no matter what order you got these top 4 in, Willie Jack, I'm okay with it. You know what I'm saying? I'm okay with what you got in these top 4. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what your list looking like, but hey, that's where I'm getting.
I don't know if there's 3 defenders better than Nick Bosa. I'm going to do your thing.
Anyway, as I was saying, Nick Bosa is my number 4 guy on this list, okay? And this is going into the 2023 season. We're not talking about the season he just had, Willie Jack. We're not talking about the 18.5 sacks in which he led the league. We're not talking about, you know what I'm saying, his tackles for loss,
19,
in which he was, I believe, second only behind Max Crosby. You know what I'm saying? We're not talking about that. He had a very dominant season, and he's a huge part of this San Francisco defense that was the number 1 defense in the league last year. You know, and I don't want to put any buts. I want to talk about all his positives because he's one of the guys. I don't know if Willie Jack remember this. When he first came out, I said, "Why?" I mean, not why. I said it already, but I said Nick Bosa is gonna be the next JJ Watt. And Willie Jack, he clowned me for that. He said, "Boy, you out your mind. Boy, you crazy." And you know, but I expect that from Willie Jack because y'all know how he feels about JJ Watt. JJ Watt is on Mount Rushmore of edge rushes for Willie Jack. You know what I'm saying? And I felt like Nick Bosa was going to come to the league. And just from the moment I saw him at Ohio State, the way he got off blocks, you know what I'm saying? Nobody was able to block him at all. I didn't see I'm tripping, but I watched every single rep from his senior season, and not one guy blocked him on no play. Of course, he didn't make all the plays, but not one guy blocked him. He is such a technician. He's strong. He has the size. He has everything. His first 2 seasons in the NFL didn't quite do all the things that he really wanted to do because of injuries and things like that. And I was hoping that he didn't fall into the same category that his brother is starting to trend towards in terms of like the injury proneness and things of that nature. But these last 2 years, he's shown that this is why y'all drafted me, you know, top 5 overall. You know what I'm saying? That first round. This is what you're gonna get from me as long as I'm healthy. Mm-hmm. And he shows that it doesn't matter what the play is, man. Nobody will be able to block me, and I'm gonna continue to make an impact. So Nick Bosa, man, he's my number 4 guy on this list, but he's top tier, man. He's top tier. I don't want anybody to get that confused. Whereas my number 4 receiver, he might not be a top tier guy. My number 4 running back may not be a top tier guy. He could be with the running backs out there because there's some talent. Some talent. Yeah. But my number 4 safety, my number 4, corner. Those guys may not be one of the amongst the top tier guys. But this guy, hands down, I think is one of the top tier guys. And I think sometimes the list is just longer in certain positions than it is in others. These top 4 guys to me, man, are as good as it gets. So whatever you order you got him in, I ain't mad at it, Willie Jack. But that's my number 4 guy.
No, and I agree completely, man. I'm going to talk about Baby Bosa here in a little bit, but I also agree as well. The top 4 guys on my list as well. I think they're the guys that I would consider tier 1 at the position, and then I think that next tier starts with Max Crosby, and it sounds like you agree the same. And Max Crosby starts the top of that next tier, but I do think the guys in the top 4 kind of separate themselves And so, I agree completely with you there.
Absolutely, which moves me into my next guy that's a top tier guy, Myles Garrett. Man, Myles Garrett is my number 3 guy, and I'm really I've been a fan of Myles Garrett for quite some time too, and he's one of those guys where we just talked about Julius Peppers being a freak, Myles Garrett a freak. I'm talking about what defensive end that 270, 280 pounds, 6 foot, whatever, going in the gym, windmilling, holding a basketball, and it looks like an orange in his hand. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the type of athlete that Myles Garrett is. But on top of that, he has the bend, he has the speed, he has some of those other things too. So he's not just some big guy that can't move, or I don't mean you said you picking on Hassan Reddick. I don't mean to pick on Trayvon Walker. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. He's not some big stiff guy. The guy's very nimble. He can move around, with some of the best smaller guys that are in the league, which makes him a much better option when he's chasing down running backs, when he's trying to run out there on the outside to catch a wide receiver on a smoke screen. Like, those type of plays are the plays that your defensive end can now make because of his athletic ability. And that's what Myles Garrett brings to the table, along with just being able to just whoop you every single play. Oh, yeah. If you're offensive tackle trying to block him, you know what I'm saying, it's going to be a long day for you. You know what I mean? So a lot of times you're going to see that chip because of just his natural ability. He's also one of those guys where he doesn't even necessarily need to have a pass rush move on any given play. He can beat you just with his just raw athletic ability and strength. So that's what he brings to the table. I think Myles Garrett is, like you said, another one of those top tier guys, one of the better guys in this league when it comes to edge defenders. And I got him at the number 3 spot, man. I got him in my number 3 spot.
No, and I agree with a lot of the things you said. And actually, I'm gonna I'll go ahead and get into my 3 and 2 because I think I've got the 2 guys you've got at 4-3 make up my 3-2. And so I'll get started. My number 3 guy was Myles Garrett. Oh, okay, we got the same 3. Yeah. So my number 3 guy is also Myles Garrett, and it's for a lot of those reasons that you just said. So first thing, and just like I was alluding to, built like an Adonis. This guy is built like he's carved from marble. 6'5", 270, and I don't know where you can find the fat on this guy's body. So completely big, a huge dude, ripped up, super athletic. I just told you, there's videos of this guy, just like my dog said, palming the ball like an orange, 360 windmilling. So size, speed, explosiveness, athleticism. So he checks all those boxes. He checks all those boxes without question. And also, just like my dog Chop said, he's a guy that he can just line up and just beat you. He may decide, I'm not going to do anything but go through you, and there's not going to be anything your tackle and probably your tackle and guard or probably your tackle and running back are going to do about it if this guy gets ahead of steam going and decides he's going to the quarterback. And so I think, for a lot of reasons, just everything like he said, man, my dog wrapped it up pretty good. And so if you've got to build a guy in a lab, and we say this sometimes with guys like Terrell Owens or Julio Jones or, guys that just kind of Cam Newton, if you're just building a guy, or Josh Allen now, if you're just building a guy that look like, man, if you're creating a player, you probably build Myles Garrett. 6'5", 270, no fat on his body anywhere. Boy could jump out the gym. He could run with anybody on the field. And so that's the guy you build. And so, definitely a guy that's one of the guys at the top of the league in that position. He's not going anywhere anytime soon. And so, I agree completely with you there at Myles Garrett at 3. And then for me, I've got Nick Bosa at 2. And I'll tell you right now, man, Nick Bosa very well. You know what? He's 2. He's probably 1B. He's 1B for me, man. Nick Bosa, it truly gets no better at the position, man. A guy rushing on the edge with his hand in the dirt. I'm taking him over anybody in this league. Exceptional strength at the point of contact. He plays with awesome leverage. Just like Chop said, and kind of like I was alluding to with Big Bosa, his brother Joey, they're the sons of coaches. Technically, just elite technically from the position, and that's his hand usage, his leverage, his strength, the way he discards, this is a guy who was built and bred for getting after quarterbacks, and we see it time and time again, as evidenced by his leading 18.5 sacks this past year. And so, very well deserved defensive player of the year this year as well, leading league in sacks. But yeah, he's a guy, man. It's just. I'm hard pressed to name anybody individually better than him at just putting my hand in the dirt and getting after quarterbacks. And so for me, man, Nick Bosa, my dog Chop did an excellent job summarizing them already. But and so just like he said, phenomenal hand usage, technically supreme, technically at every aspect of playing the position. And if you're talking about leverage and get off, I'm talking about really, man, cocks his hand back in his stance like a sprinter. Like literally, he almost like, you know what I'm saying, like a sprinter stance.
Willie low key want to get up and show y'all.
Hey, I almost did, man. Cause I'm talking about like he like and like even watching him like getting to his stance or like he's getting like that 4 point and he's like rocking back and he is like, man, like a NASCAR driver where he's like revving the engine, like he's like revving to go, man, and really fires out of his stance with more force and speed than probably anybody else at the position. Like I said, excellent hand usage, excellent hand placement, a motor that doesn't stop. Like I said, man, he's 1B. Like I said, man, it's hard to get any better at the position than Nick Bosa, in my opinion.
Gotcha. Hey, like I said before, man, I ain't mad at it, man. I'm not mad at that. But that brings me to my number 2, man. My number 2, and I gotta go with the old my dog's home guy, man. His home guy, and that's TJ Watt, man. Now, we didn't get a chance to see a lot of TJ Watt this past season due to injury, but when on the field, the one guy where I was like, this guy can't stay on the field and continue to get better like this, because the last thing I want to hear is, man, I told you, TJ Watt, Aaron Donald ain't got nothing on TJ Watt. Aaron Donald, man, because that's what he likes to do. That's what Willie Jack likes to do. He likes to try to, you know what I'm saying, mess with me and talk about TJ Watt being better than Aaron Donald when we know. Come on, man. We know what it is.
Hey, man,
but
you talking about yesterday, you talking about today, man. You know what I'm saying?
He's still today. Still today. But TJ Watt, man, I can't deny at all. TJ Watt is one of the most disruptive players, if not the most disruptive player in the field when it comes to defensive guys. I'm talking about from the passing game, whether it's getting after the quarterback or swatting balls down, getting interceptions, forcing fumbles, recovering fumbles, in the run game. Like you will see him go through 1, 2, 3 blockers and work his way to the quarterback. And it's like, dang, y'all just put all these guys on him because none of y'all block him. Not one. Like all 3 of y'all. And he routinely does it. His motor is great. He plays with great strength. He's not he's a very, very athletic guy, but he's not like the like you said, you building Myles Garrett. He's not the type of guy. He's not quite the Myles Garrett type built guy, but you can't tell him that. He don't play like it. You know, when you watch him on a down in and down out basis, he looks like, you know, he plays like he is that free. But overall, man, TJ Watt, man, one of the most disruptive players. I'm talking about he just disrupts everything when it comes to the offense. And I truly believe he can get you an extra win or 2 just by being on the field all season. You know what I'm saying? He can change the game in that form of fashion, and you don't see too many defensive players in general that can change the game that way and make the game correlate to wins, you know, in terms of his impact. So TJ Watt, man, is my number 2 guy. And yeah, man, he's a special one, man. He's special for sure.
Yeah, appreciate the love, my boy.
Already, and I know you got him coming sooner or later, man.
Yeah.
Or I know obviously. You're gonna have him.
We'll talk about him here soon.
We'll talk about him soon. But that leads me to my number 1 guy, man. And this is a guy who I feel like is going to be able to disrupt the game just a tad bit more than TJ Watt. You know what I mean? And that's why I'm going with Michael Parsons. Okay, and the difference between Michael Parsons and TJ Watt for me is Michael Parsons just has that a little bit of the edge when it comes to athletic ability, man, which means that ceiling is a little bit higher. I know we was talking about earlier when we talked about, you know, Kayvon Thibodeau and Aiden Hutchinson and those type of guys and Trayvon Walkers, their ceilings are a lot higher because, yeah, they may not have the actual skill that Aiden Hutchinson has right now, but those guys are that much more athletic. They have some specific tools that can make them be more dominant, you know, as time goes on. And I think that's what Michael Parsons has over a guy like a TJ Watt. Now, that's not taking nothing away from TJ Watt at all. Like I just told you, he is in the midst with the best, you know, in the business, you know what I'm saying, when fully healthy. And I think he's going to continue to be that. But Michael Parsons just has a little bit of that edge when it comes to that portion. Then you add over to that defense another lockdown guy, on the other side of the ball from Trayvon Diggs. So quarterbacks are going to have to hold the ball just a little bit. That's a tad bit longer. That means it's going to be a rough season for guys that's trying to block Michael Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence and all those guys, coming off of that defensive line. It's going to be a long season, and Michael Parsons continues to evolve as a pass rusher. That's the thing, too. The guy only played 2 leagues. He's got 2 first-team All-Pros, and he's still learning.
Exactly.
He's still learning the game. Like, he hasn't fully grasped how to play the game. The other thing about him, too, is he's one of those guys where he has more of a Ronnie Lott mentality, one of those guys that's like, man, I don't care, man, put me in the game. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I don't care if it's week 16, week 17. We already got our playoff spot sealed. But this game right here, though, is coming down to the edge. Like, we can't move up a spot in the as far as seeding, but I don't care, coach. I want to win this game. I don't care what you got to do. Put me in. I still remember, I don't know if it was week 16 or 17, Willie Jack, or 17 or 18, 16, 17, 18. Okay. He was dealing with a little bit of a groin injury.
Yeah.
And the coach was like, man, they didn't want to necessarily put him in, but he was like, nah, man, I'm about to go out here and play because I want to win this game. That's the type of heart and attitude he has, and I think only special players have that. Everybody doesn't have that gift. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. To where they can fight through certain things or fight through adversity, or to say, hey, man, take this pinky off. I'm going back in this game. Like, that's different. That's a different level. I can tell you right now.
They ain't making them like that no more. I can tell you right now.
That ain't me. I'm gonna tell you that right now.
Like that no more.
That ain't me. So it's certain things when you see players like that, man. It just make you go, wow, man. And it also reinforces some of the reasons, not the only reason, but some of the reasons why, man. This is why we love the game, man. This is why we watch the game
for sure.
And he brings that to the game. He brings that passion, that effort, that skill. And hey, man, I love watching him. So Michael Parsons is my number one guy, man. I see him making a huge impact for this Dallas Cowboys defense, especially with some of the pieces that they added in the offseason.
No, and honestly, can't be mad at that, man. Especially if there's one guy you had to bank on, like given where he's at now and then his trajectory, I think he definitely still has probably one of the higher ceilings still to go at the position, even with the placement that he's at now. And it's just kind of like we both alluded to, he's still finding his way in the position. Mm-hmm. And so he's a guy that, as dangerous and as explosive as he is, he's winning his pass rush reps mainly just with that explosiveness and just beating tackles to the spot and turning that corner and getting around. He's still not really proficient as far as just raw hand usage or just anything in the way of real like rush moves. It's more so just burst speed and athleticism right there off the line. And like I said, man, I'm going to beat the tackle to the spot. I'm on my third step. He's on his second. And now, like I said, it's ball game. And you know what I mean? I'm going to run the horn around anybody. And like I said, if quarterback's still holding the ball, he's dead. And so, like I said, he's still got so much more that he can improve on at the position. But doing what he's done so far to this point, giving us the production he has, the way he's changed and impacted games, I can't be mad at that at all. Like I said, especially like I said, man, part of this list is looking forward as well. So I can't knock it, man. I can't knock it at all. But that leaves the man, the myth, the legend himself, man. When you need somebody off the edge, it gets no better, man. Best in the business for me, the boy TJ Watt. Man, and this is the thing about TJ Watt. Now he does have excellent hand play. He's got excellent strength in his hands. But he's not as powerful at the point of attack as Myles Garrett. He's not as explosive off the ball as Michael Parsons. He doesn't have the insane, like let's say arm length, as another guy like a Rashawn Gary or like a Myles Garrett, guys that can tie their shoes standing up. He doesn't have those things, but what he does is he's a walking bucket. It doesn't matter. No rhyme or reason. You need and this is the thing about TJ Watt and he plays for he plays for my team as well. Y'all know what's going on, man, with the Steelers. But he makes plays, he makes big plays in big moments. And that's something that all-star players aren't built that way. So it's one thing to be a star player. It's one thing to be an elite guy, but it's a whole nother level of guy or a whole other caliber of player that makes that big play when the lights are on. And so that's one of those things where I always look at. It's 39. The game is on the line right now. We got a 5-point lead. We've got to get a stop to knock a team out of scoring position or to get a stop so that our team can get the ball. And TJ Watt makes his plays in those moments.
Absolutely.
And so one thing that I will say that my dog alluded to before as well, I don't think there's another defender in the league that affects wins and losses at the level that TJ Watt does as a defender. And so generally, players don't move the win-loss total. Like in baseball, is a big stat. Wins above replacement is a bigger baseball stat than it is for football. Because in football, the only guy that moves a win-loss meter is a quarterback. So the Patriots lose prime Gronk doesn't affect the bottom line at all because that's just the nature of the position. Not that Gronk was the most dominant guy at the position and had a good footing above the next guy for a time. But if he's out, he doesn't affect the needle as far as wins and losses for that team. He just doesn't. TJ Watt is a guy that when he's on the field, when he's on the field versus off the field, our wins and losses reflect his presence. And so even this last year, he comes out, we beat the Bengals in the opening game of the week. TJ Watt has 2 sacks, an incredible interception, a forced fumble. I mean, he just completely takes over the game, him and Minka Fitzpatrick both in that game, and then he goes down and goes out. And then the first half of our season, we're like 1-6 or something crazy to that effect, and then he comes back, and then we finished the year 7-1, and he's a big part of that. And then we were knocking on the door of a playoff berth. Like I said, we lost a tiebreaker to the Dolphins to make it to the playoff, and there's no bigger impact on that than TJ Watt and what he does as far as affecting our wins and losses. There's a crazy stat. I wish I had looked it up, but we're something like 17-5, or no, when TJ Watt's out, we're like 5-12 or something to that nature, or it may not even be that good. It may be like 3-12 or 3-14, but it's a very good, interesting stat to see, and from a defender, a guy that affects wins and losses in that way. And so one thing I would say, even about, his big brother, my dog, J.J. Watt. J.J. Watt was absolutely phenomenally probably the greatest defensive player that I saw with my eyes in his prime, in his heyday. And I think he should have had an MVP, that 20 sack, 6 touchdown year where he was playing tight end. But the thing about it, all that dominance, that production, the Texans were still a team struggling and fighting to win 6 games for a lot of those seasons, regardless of how dominant he was on the field. Aaron Donald, a lot of those dominant years, especially those early years in St. Louis. And hell, even some of when they got to LA pretty quick with McVay, things changed. But as dominant as he was, it didn't necessarily bear fruit in the win-loss column. And that's not taken away from either of those guys, because that's not a realistic expectation. But I think it's too regular to be coincidence. It feels like when our guy's on the field versus when he's off the field, we see it in the win-loss column. And I really can't think of another defender that seems to affect the wins and losses in that manner besides TJ Watt. And so, but set the sack record, his last healthy season, he was the MVP, tied the sack record. I'm not going to lie, man. I think he's a guy, he's going to threaten that record again. He's tying that record right now with Michael Strahan, and I think before it's all said and done, he'll probably hold that record by himself. And so it gets no better. Look. Before I can even get going, we got terrible Tom Walker, our resident Texas fan, in the building. And if you know Tom, you know that boy don't say nothing that makes sense. He said Will Anderson bigger than what? Man, first off, Will Anderson wasn't the best edge rusher in this draft class. I don't want to knock him, man. I don't know what he's gonna do with D'Amico Ryans, but he's got quite a ways to go, man, before we can say that. I don't know if he's.
I wouldn't even give him no attention, Willie Jack. You better than me, because I wasn't finna say nothing to Tom, because Tom be off his rock.
That's my dog. But no. I mean, I'm curious to see, man. I hope Will Anderson does pan out. And like I said, man, being with D'Amico Ryans, we saw what he did to help get line things up and get a guy like Nick Bosa in the best position to win. So Will Anderson's in great hands down there in Houston, man, with D'Amico Ryans. But now he got a long way to go, man, for he can get in the conversation with the guys, man. Before we put him up here with the big dogs.
Hey, Willie Jack, Tom pretty much saying you was Alex Highsmith. Alex was TJ Watt. You was Alex Highsmith.
Not at all.
That's what he just said.
No, he was injured reserve, JJ. So when JJ was in the tub, That was Tom.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, when JJ was in the tub, that was my dog right there. Yeah.
Facts,
man.
Well, there goes your top 10, Willie Jack. Let's do some honorable mentions, man. We got a couple guys you want to mention, man, that just missed your list that could have possibly made it, man.
Yeah, for sure, man. A guy like Daniil Hunter with the Vikings, longtime Vikings player, and he's a guy that he's always kind of a little under the radar, but a guy that, especially over like these last, I want to say 3 years or so, he's been pretty productive. I want to say he generally falls somewhere between 12, 14 sacks. And he was a guy that came in super raw and kind of was another guy that kind of developed a little later, and then now he's turned into a very good edge defender. Man, matter of fact, I was just talking in the chat or in the group the other day with our dog, man, Brother Red from No Bunch of the Podcast. What's up, bro? We were just talking about Cam Jordan, man, another OG, man, long time, very productive guy with the Saints. In the comparison I think I made when me and Brother Red were talking is like, man, he's almost like the Mike Evans of defensive ends. Every year in the league, he's productive. He's like you look up, Michael Evans has got a 1,000-yard season. Well, you look up, Cam Jordan had around 10 sacks, and he's a guy that's been pretty reliable over an extended career in the league to this point. So I want to give him a little shout and a little love. And Matt Judon, man, from the edge from the Patriots. He had a very productive year this last year. I feel like he started out way hot, and then he kind of cooled off a little bit. I think he had a stretch there where I think over the span of like 3 games, I think he had like 8 sacks over like the span of 3 games. It was a very hot stretch there, kind of earlier in the season to that midpoint. Then he kind of cooled back off, but still finished the season right around, I think, 14, 15 sacks, and was definitely a guy that led that Patriots defense in that regard.
Gotcha. Willie Jack. And I like the names you mentioned. Matt Judon was definitely one of those guys I was going to mention. The thing with Matt Judon, the reason why he missed my list too, was I think that I don't know how much I can expect from him continuing to move forward. He didn't really reach his peak until, a couple years ago, at the age of 29. This past season, he was 30. He did have a solid season with about 15 sacks, but, guys don't continue to go up the ladder or up the list when they hit 31 and 32 and stuff like that. So I don't know how much I can really expect, so I do expect him to continue to be a solid defensive end for the New England Patriots. And I do think Bill Belichick is going to continue to put him in a position so he can succeed as much as possible. But I don't know how much he can actually do as he continues to get a little bit older. As I say all the time, Father Time is undefeated.
Undefeated.
A couple other guys I want to mention, man. One, DeMarcus Lawrence. I do like DeMarcus Lawrence as an edge defender, man. DeMarcus Lawrence is a guy where you can move him up and down that defensive line a little bit, and he can still be effective regardless of where he plays. You know what I'm saying? Of course, Michael Parsons is the guy now. So DeMarcus Lawrence has kind of moved to more of a Robin role. But before Michael Parsons walked in that building, man, DeMarcus Lawrence was looked at as still,
he was the guy
one of the better edge defenders, on that team and in the league. You know what I'm saying? So he's still a solid guy, still, can be productive, has to stay on the field for sure. But, he is one of the better guys. And the last guy, I want to give him some credit, man. Trey Hendrickson, man, edge defender out of Cincinnati, man. So one of the strongest pieces on that Bengals defense over the last few years, especially in that Super Bowl run. He looked to be more of a one-trick pony, but, when he came over from New Orleans over to Cincinnati, he's shown that he can truly be, a force on that defense no matter where. He had a good motor, definitely, was one of those guys where you had to know exactly where he was at. And you had a long game ahead of you. It was one of those games where it was like, all right, if I'm going against Trey Hendrickson, man, he's coming every single play. He ain't taking a play off, not a down off. He's coming every single down. Mm-hmm. So I got to give some of those guys their credit, man, along with some of the guys that you already mentioned too.
No, for sure. And I appreciate you shouting out Trey Henderson, man. He's one of those guys as well, but he way tougher than I ever was. But he don't play with gloves. I just can't, man. That's a different type. That's a different type of guy to be in those trenches, man. Your fingers get caught and snagged in helmets, and man, it gets nasty down there, man. And down there, no gloves. He's in Cincinnati as well, man. So it gets real cold in there too, man. So he's playing in the snow, he's playing in the freezing rain and all these type of things, man, with no gloves in the line, hitting, grabbing, pass. I mean, I'm telling you, man, it's hard on your hands down in the trenches, boy. He don't play with no gloves.
I wasn't down in the trenches, but my hands got caught up in a couple helmets
Man,
or a couple shoulder pads, certain spots in those shoulder pads a couple times, man. And that ain't no joke, man. You talking about, and then you got to practice every single day.
Man, look.
Yep, I'm talking about fingers swole for about 3 weeks just because it don't have enough time to heal because you got to use your hands every day in practice, man.
Man, I had my pinky used to be cocked to the side a little bit for the longest. Boy, I ain't gonna lie, I was so man. I ain't gonna lie, my pinky was cocked sideways for a while.
You had that Brian Ball in your
man, thank God, no. They had that got me some Ronnie Lott right there. Like, hey, take it, man. Go ahead, take it, Doc. I'll be damn. I walk around with my, you know what I'm saying, my hand going this way, my pinky going over here, man. I can't do it, man.
Hey, dog.
I ain't that tough.
Hey, I'm with you on that, Willie J. But hey, man, that's it and that's all.
That's it. That's all.
We came, we saw, we conquered, man.
You
We came and we did what we need to do.
Man, you heard what he
for
said.
the episode today. Next week, Willie Jack, what we got on the plate, man? I think we got what we doing? O-line? 719?
There it is.
O-line.
Yeah,
next week.
staying in them trenches, man. The big uglies, get them some love next week.
For sure, man. So we're gonna stay in the trenches. We're gonna do some offensive line. We have a list for you guys. We're gonna break them guys down, man. We like to show everybody love, man. It's not just about the skill guys, all the glamorous, the glamorous things, the guys that get all the shine and the guys that get most of the notoriety. We gotta get down there in them trenches too with the offensive line. So we're gonna do that next week. We'll give y'all a list of that. We're gonna break that down for y'all. And then we're going to continue to move on, man. We got some more stuff coming for y'all pretty soon. Willie Jack came in, surprised your boy this week.
Yeah, man.
You know what I'm saying? I appreciate my
keep
dog
on his toes.
You gotta keep me on my toes. You know what I'm saying? Keep y'all on y'all toes, because I know y'all ain't expect this either, man. We came through and we did our thing. But Willie Jack, that's it. That's pretty much it, man. You gonna wrap us up today, man?
Hey, man, there you go, man. Just like my dog said, man. That's it. That's all. We came, we saw, we conquered, man. Real quick, man. Let me holler at this chat, see what was going on, man. The members was in the building today, man. As always, man. The fam band was in the building holding it down, man. Appreciate y'all, man. We had our dog, Terrible Town Walker. Our resident Texas fan was in the building, man. Sis, wifey, man. Mrs. Boyce was in the building today as well. Appreciate that. Our dog, Real Deal STL Sports, Skinny. Was in the building, man. We appreciate that love, man. Y'all know what's going on with the rest of the members, man. Make sure y'all tap in with our dogs, man. Show No Bunch of the podcast some love, man. Show No Boss No Glory some love, man. So y'all know what's going on, man. Damn, I was trying to find you, but if I forgot to say your name, y'all can say it with me. Charge it to my head, man. Don't charge it to my heart. You know what I was thinking about you, man. We appreciate all that love and support, man. Man, like I said, man, we love doing this, man. We ain't going nowhere, man. Wednesdays, we ain't wearing no watch because we ain't got nowhere else to be. I ain't worried about what time it is. Chop ain't worried about no time it is because we ain't got nothing else to do but sitting here with the fam, man, kicking this football flavor like we always do, man. Next Wednesday, 7 o'clock, you know where to be. Same bad time, different back channel. Them big uglies getting some love, man. The offensive line. Can't wait to holler at y'all this week. See y'all then. Peace.